Today's video, we're going to talk about, does drop shipping still work? We're going to answer that question for you based upon 20 years of doing ads, online ads for drop shipping companies that are trying to do drop shipping, both that I've seen currently today that have succeeded, failed. I'm going to tell you about those stories. But the main thing is, to answer this question, does drop shipping still work? It does sometimes. Sometimes it doesn't. When it does work, it's not the way that everyone thinks it will, okay? That is your typical picture of what somebody that's trying to get into drop shipping doing, selling some little doodad that's cost $2 they're getting off of AliExpress, get an order and then right away go to AliExpress and put their order in and have it shipped directly to their customer. That's dead, okay? Basically speaking, at least long-term and as an overall long-term business strategy, okay? You may get lucky here and there, but that's really a dumb use of your time to try to make money doing drop shipping that way anymore, okay? I've also done drop shipping myself back before, and I don't do it anymore at all, mainly because the drop shipping programs, they're here today and they're gone tomorrow, and I don't want to go ahead and build my entire business on quicksand, even though there are ways to also mitigate for that, which I'm going to talk about in today's video. Personally, I want to be able to develop my own customers, not build somebody else's business up, which when you drop ship for somebody else, it's essentially what you're doing. It's just like being an affiliate in a way. I'm going to go into all the details on that, and if you stay to the end of the video, I will give you some actual results on the drop shippers that I do see getting results, what they're getting for results, to give you some inspiration to actually do this for yourself, as well as how to do it for yourself. I am Corey Zyman, owner of Guaranteed PPC, a PPC/online advertising agency that guarantees results for the clients that we manage their ads for. Are the only agency in the world who offers any kind of guarantee to their clients, that is more profit on their campaigns before we take a management fee up front, or to get to a certain level of viability with their campaigns up front before we start charging a management fee to our client. With all that said, the reason why we get results is because I have the 20 years of online advertising experience, 10 of which is offered, and having worked on hundreds of accounts that I've worked with in our agency at Guaranteed PPC to give you the knowledge about drop shipping and what's good about drop shipping, what's bad about drop shipping on this video, because we've had people come through our agency, several drop shippers come through our agency over the last decade of doing business. So with that said, okay, the first thing to tell you right off the top that you should know is drop shipping is not a passive income business. Now, passive income businesses as a whole are never really passive until you've busted your ass for a long time up front to put together a system. The better your systems, the more passive it is. That said, systems you put together today, it's just a matter of when those systems are outdated and then have to be updated again. And if you are smart, instead of spending the money when you start making it on Ferraris and fast women and all this other stuff, you go ahead and you invest in better people that eventually should be smart enough to put together systems for you, so that when your old systems start to become outdated, you have new systems automatically going in place behind them. Basically speaking, you're as passive as you're going to get. That is, you pay somebody to make sure stuff keeps running. It's just most people fail at that because the type of person that has the IQ to actually manage your business at that level is so expensive that most people don't have the margins to actually get it done. Because naturally, big companies, the people that own them aren't working in the businesses. They found a way to get it managed and pay people to manage the whole business, so it is truly passive. Generally speaking, you have to be doing at least 5, if not 10 million a year to be truly passive, to afford the high level, several $100,000 a year employees at the C level, to have the capable caliber of person to manage something, and without your direct, supervision, if you will, from what I've seen. Using drop shipping to bypass all that isn't the answer, namely because drop shipping is not a passive income business, because what you're doing, there's no really, in business, they always talk about value add. What is the value you're adding to the chain of delivering a product from inception, manufacturing to end consumer? You have to add some value to that chain of custody of that product all the way through the process. Basically sustain your position in the market, grabbing the cash at some stage and being able to sustain it as a company. Because if you have no value add, chances are you're just going to be cut out, basically. And drop shipping companies don't add a lot of value, or any value for that matter, when you're selling low price products. Why? Because those same products can be found on Amazon by 15,000 other people. What value are you truly adding to your market? I see people trying to do this all the time. They think they're going to throw up some cheap products on their e-commerce store, run ads to it from Google ads, Facebook ads. They're going to get sales. Once the order comes in, they've got the company that actually sells the product going to deliver that product for them, and they're going to be sitting on a beach somewhere, drinking Mai Tais and making money automatically. If it were that easy to make money, there would be a lot more people doing it, and very few people would be working jobs. They would just buy a drop shipping store pre-built by somebody and they would just run it. You got to generally have something more than that. So I hate to break it to you right off the top, right away here, but that's the reality. And drop shipping, to have a chance to make it work, means creating better sales processes. Out of all the people in your market is better than them, or where you can out-compete them with your sales process itself. So going back to the concept that I was trying to lay out and the foundation I was trying to lay out earlier, a good business runs off systems. You can check out the book Build to Sell that talks all about how good, businesses that are worth anything are all built on systems. And you need to know that more than anything to have any kind of big business that's not just where you're self-employing, or where you're just a self-employed person doing all the work, yourself, and which is basically systems are, you just find a way to do something and then you document it, and then you give that documentation to an employee, and then they read it and then they run from it. In order to do something to really be able to earn your keep in the custody chain of where a product goes from manufacturing to in consumers' hands, you got to add some value to that process to substantiate getting the part of the money, in that chain. The manufacturer does what, adds their value. They create the product. The wholesaler creates their value because they provide a buffer so you don't have to deal with the manufacturer to get products from them if you want to sell them, if you will. Then obviously the retail sells products to end consumers so that the manufacturer don't have to deal with the customer, and the wholesaler doesn't have to deal with the customer and do one-off transactions. If you're going to interject yourself into this process, you got to add value. And you may say, well, the retailer, I'm doing what value typically the retailer does or delivers. The retailer usually has a brick and mortar store that they've invested in the location. So they have the right location to be at the right place at the right time for people to buy. Or if we're talking about websites here, we got somebody who, if we're just, if we're talking about $2 doodads that you can find on Amazon already, the retailer that has a website that sells those products, even if they have them in stock, they don't have any value. If you give people the choice, they're going to buy on Amazon because they know Amazon's not going to screw up their order, and they don't have to give their credit card out to a new party, which is always a risk. Where typically retail e-commerce websites come in and have their value to the market is when they provide expertise about that product. And generally when you buy a $2 doodad, you don't need any expertise. You buy it, and hopefully it works, and if it doesn't, who cares? Once you start getting into $100 plus items, then you have questions about that product. Is it going to work for me? How well does it actually work? Mainly, does it work for me and the application I have? So what do? You call up the number on the website and you ask them questions about the product. This is the way that offline brick and mortar retail used to work. You used to be able to go into the store back, like even when Circuit City was open, if you're old enough to know what that is. You'd go in the store and you would get a electronics expert to tell you which VCR you were going to buy. That's how e-commerce stores survive and beat Amazon, because Amazon does not provide that level of service to their customers. With that in mind, if you're going to get drop shipping to work, you got to be able to provide expert sales advice to your consumers in order to have value. Otherwise, somebody's just going to cut you out. You don't think that the wholesaler, if it were as easy as just setting up a simple website, that's all they had to do, they wouldn't just set up the website themselves. They would just cut you out. You're going to have somebody that's going to copy you, and then pretty soon there's no margins left in what you're doing, either or. With all that said, the way to get drop shipping to work nowadays is to sell something over like that $100 price point in order to where people are going to want to have questions to get answered, and in which, if you're lucky and you find the right niche market, nobody's answering questions very much. That is, you go to all the stores that sell that item or category of item and you call them all up and you get a bonehead answer on the phone, if they answer at all. Then you should say, aha, I've got something here where I know I can answer the telephone or have somebody answer the telephone who has actual product knowledge that can consult the customer through a sale, and they're going to do business with me because I have that, and nobody's going to copy me because, for the most part, it takes more than just having the simple website set up in order to run this business and to offer the value to the market. The reason why you will typically need to have an actual sales process to get dropshipping to work is because even if you find a $2 doodad that you could sell with a Facebook ad and sell it for more than what the ad costs to sell it, someone is just going to copy your strategy. So you may find a product that works, but then it's going to work for a little while. Once you scale up the campaign, someone's going to see it and they're going to copy you, which is why it doesn't work. And if you're talking about like Google search ads, by the way, as soon as there's 15 other people selling that item, you ain't going to get no margins on that. So the only thing you would be able to do is sell it like through Facebook, where it's a little bit hidden. Even then, the cost of the ad space is so much, unless you're selling something for $100 plus, there's no margins really in that either. And if you're really going to go through all the effort to find that perfect ad that can sell that item, why not sell something that people can't copy so easily? And if all they have to do is take your item that you're getting from that supplier and get it from that same supplier, throw up a website, run the ad, and they're done, they're going to do it. What they aren't willing to do is answer the telephone and treat their business like an actual job, not a passive income thing, at least short term, until you've built up systems in your business. Talk to people, answer their questions. If you do that, now you have something that could potentially work. It's very funny. The clients that I see come into my business, they may have some initial success doing drop shipping of goods. Unless they're selling something that's like 4 figures in price, they do well for a while. It falls apart eventually. Someone copies them, time for somebody copies them, and then it's a race to the bottom and there's no margins left in it. You got to have a moat around your business, as per Warren Buffett calls it. What that means is it costs a lot of money to set up your store, therefore not many people can afford to set it up, or it's hard to provide the customer support to your customers that nobody else wants to do that. Can do it very easily, and then you have something actually that can't be so easily replicated and won't be just ripped off the first time someone notices you're doing well. Drop shipping today is more so, if you want to still do it, is about lead generation more than anything, as it can't easily be copied. At least when you have something that works, going back to what I was saying earlier about drop shipping programs are here today and gone tomorrow, you could swap out replacement items that are in the same category and just start selling something else. One thing you'll notice influencers doing is they may be offering one item. They can't promote that item anymore because the affiliate program is gone on it. And they'll just start promoting another item from another competitor in that same niche. The item itself is interchangeable. And if you set up an e-commerce store selling home dialysis machines, one supplier that you have that you're doing drop shipping for, which I'll tell you about how this works in a moment from somebody who actually did that I know, says you can't sell their home dialysis machine anymore. You just go find another competitor of theirs and you start selling their machine. The value you've built is a funnel that creates people who want home dialysis machines to call, and you tell them you ask them questions, you find out which machine that is right for them, and then you place them on the machine based upon all the machines you have available to do drop shipping with. And that's a viable drop shipping method. But really though, at the end of the day, if you were to do that and you were successful at it, you would only be incentivized to not do drop shipping for long and just order the products outright, get a warehouse and do it right, if you will, right? Because you're gonna get the full margin on the thing, not 10%, but 40%. Or 30%, which will help you scale the ad campaign more. So really, drop shipping, its real usefulness in today's environment in 2024, as I make this video here, is about figuring out products that could sell And then once you find out that they sell, go ahead and either make the product yourself, another version of it, I should say. You order the product from the manufacturer and you keep them in stock and you sell them because the margins are much, much better. And why not get all the extra money? There's no point. Any rational person is not going to do drop shipping forever. They're going to do it until they know there's something there, and then they're going to get into warehousing their own product because they can get them for they can have a 40% margin versus a 10% margin with drop shippers. Actually, some drop shippers you can get 30%, but it's always going to be better if you have the product in stock. So once you see it sells well, it would make no sense to take some of the money you're making, order a pallet of the product, and get 50% margin instead of 30. Before I start getting into different examples of drop shipping stores that I have seen that have been successful, I want to tell you that if you're questioning or considering doing this still, leave me a comment in the comment section. Tell me what you think that you're going to do. I'll be able to help you put you on the right track to see if it might work or not. Based on my experience of seeing different people doing drop shipping in the past successfully, that is running ads to a drop shipping store, not like being in a position like being an influencer and having free traffic and driving them to a drop shipping store. Because in that case, yeah, you can make it work at least a little bit because the traffic doesn't cost anything. If you're going to buy ads and use ad traffic to promote a drop shipping store, you got to have it in a certain way for that to even halfway work. But and I'll answer any questions you have. Similar to that, if you want somebody to set up an ad campaign for your drop shipping store, we of course can do it. Reach out to me at guaranteedppc.com. We offer guarantees to our clients on their campaigns if they have the right product. Ultimately, drop shipping is very sketchy. It would have to be something that's got really good margins. Forget about it if you don't at least have a 30% margin, but we can at least have a conversation about it. We also have ad templates to sell items. If we sold an item like yours before, you can literally buy from us the winning ads, campaign templates, and so forth that you can use to sell that item. And as long as you're in a different geographic market than our client, you can use it and it's fair game. We also sell those ad templates, as is, if you're trying to start any business, the easiest way to do it truly is to use one of our ad templates to sell a product or service that you already know works, because we're doing it for another client and you can use the winning ad templates that sell it well already, of which we can tell you the results you're going to get with it up front before you ever use the templates. If you're interested in any of those templates as well, you can also reach out to me. We've got 100 plus different niche markets we've developed templates for, so you would be able to know there's a lot to pick from basically. But getting back to the content here, I already talked about how there was a home dialysis equipment seller who I already told to do what I'm telling you here and was actually doing it. You set up a website. First of all, you pick an item to sell. The more expensive, the better. The sweet spot seems to be 5-figure price point, low 5 figures, like 10 to 50,000. You set up an e-commerce website that looks like you're selling the product, just like most drop shippers do. You drive Google Ads traffic to it and you pretend that you just want them to go through the shopping cart and check out without talking to them at all. Or shouldn't I say that you don't pretend like you want to talk to them, but the idea is that they get to the page, they aren't thinking about calling. They see a way to buy. Then they say, oh, I have a question. Then they're going to call, and now you can make a sale now because you've got them on the phone and you can talk them all the way through all their questions. Once you consult them and you ask them 50 questions, place them on a product, they already know, they want to go with you because they trust you now, basically. Of course, they can buy that same product at another vendor, at another shop now that might be a little bit cheaper, which is part of the problem with drop shipping. But even then, that can be mitigated by saying lowest price guarantee and taking less of a margin in order to get the sale. But most of the time, they're going to buy from you because they like you. And you can do things such as, I'll give you 10% off if you order if you buy here over the phone here today by being such a nice person or whatever. And there's all kinds of things you can do there. But anyway, you pick a product that has a higher ticket size to the point where most people are going to have to call before they're going to be willing to order. And you figure out how to talk to somebody through their purchase. If they need a home dialysis machine like this guy's business and people who deal with their business, they don't really know quite how to pick the right machine. You stay on the phone with them for 30 minutes to an hour and you place them on the machine. You go through the stick. We'll give you a special price if you go ahead and order it today, or within the next 24 hours, we'll give you that special price. My name's Jim. You can call me back here. And then you can make the sale that way. And what you do is, of course, as you arrange for the other sellers of the same equipment like he did to get a 10% margin on those machines. On a $20,000 sale, you can make $2,000 a sale. That $2,000 will pay for a lot of ad spend to get that sale. And results that he was able to get was actually quite good. We're talking 10 to 1 or greater on that drop shipping store with only a 10% margin, mainly because this guy was a selling machine. This doesn't work if you're not good at sales, aren't a product expert, but this can be learned by anybody. Sales can be learned by anybody. I used to be horrible at sales. I just learned it through selling and figuring out slowly what works versus what doesn't work. With that, you can just target. The beautiful thing about the upside about selling somebody else's product is you can target the keywords related to that product. That is XJR brand model 234 home dialysis machine. If somebody's searching for that exact machine on Google search, you can have your ad saying that you offer exactly that machine at exactly this price. They know what you offer before they click on your ad already. They click, go to your site, see you have it there, see a phone number that says, we're open 24 hours a day, call us, we're online. Encouraging them to call, you get them on the phone, you will get leads for $100, $50, and you can close like 10% of those into a sale. Now you're gonna be able to, you can get a super good ROI at that point in time. You're paying $500 in terms of ad cost to get a sale, make $2,000 in profit on the sale, so 1,500% of that is profit, and that's with barely knowing what the hell is going on. If you can get good at the sales, you're 10 to 1 or greater in that scenario because you can close at more than 10% of the calls that come in. So anyway, that's a real story there that I gave you, and real case study, if you will. What can be done with this and how to actually do it. The other great thing to drop ship is high-end industrial equipment. We had somebody who was selling, I can't give the exact product name because they'll get pissed if I'm going to share their little hustle, if you will. And controllers for industrial line equipment. What this person would do is just simply resell these machines. And they did the same exact thing. They were targeting people who were looking for a certain brand of machine. And as long as they knew, they didn't even go to the product level with it until later on, until I started working with them. But if they were searching for that certain brand of machine and then like industrial automator, like whatever, how to describe that type of part on an overall level, they would have their ad show up, and then they would get them to the site. They would show up all the different products they have under that brand. They would encourage them to call, just like I was saying back with the home dialysis equipment. And they were making over 10 to 1 return there as well. Once we started adding ads for every single individual part or product itself, every model of that brand of product, then it got even more profitable and even more insane. Ultimately, I would say the hardest part out of all of this, to do this right, is to get your relationships together with the people that are going to be drop shipping for you. But the key thing is, once you are at a certain price point, people are more than willing to drop ship for you. They don't want to drop no $20 sneakers. It's too much trouble. But if you can tell them you can make a $3,000 sale for them, and all you need is 10% to sell it, they'll almost say to that yes every time, especially if you talk up how good of a marketer you are and that you'll be able to sell 100 units a month. Of course they'll do that. There's no risk. They don't have to do anything unless you don't perform. And they were going to spend 10% of that product cost on marketing anyway. It's like you are an unpaid sales agent for them. So of course they want to do it. Anyway, so that's another example of how this could work. Now, if you want to know how to set up your ads really, really well, I talk about how to set up ads, Google search campaigns really well using the SKAG campaign structure type. You should watch all my videos about that. And if you haven't subscribed to this channel, subscribe to the channel already, because the information you need to make these campaigns work better than anybody else is going to tell you, because I spend 40 hours a week just doing ad testing to find out the things that I know that I'm sharing with you on this channel. And I spent 20 years doing Google ads and online ads in general. I've worked on hundreds and hundreds of different accounts and hundreds of different niches. And most of the other people that are talking about ad strategy online don't even run any ads. They're just trying to sell you courses, and they're making it all up as they go, practically speak. I also, by the way, have a great blog that has the specific strategies we're using for clients there with the step-by-step instructions, with the screenshots. You should also check that out as well. You can actually find that at guaranteedppc.com/blog. And by the way, if you have any questions about anything that I cover here, don't know what, if what you plan on doing is going to work, like I said, leave me a comment below. But getting back to the topic at hand here, that gives you a general idea of how much money can be made doing this. And for the industrial part supplier, by the way, we're not talking about just making a couple sales a month. They were doing over $100,000 a month in sales, and that is with almost no PPC knowledge. The great thing about, everybody wants to take a crappy product and have me make their ad campaigns work for it. What they really should be doing is finding a product that'll sell well. If you find the right product, you don't even need it to be an ad expert to get the PPC to work. Then if you brought it to an expert to really take it on from there, it's going to go insane. Respectively, if you got a good product to promote, you don't need to be an ad expert and you can get it to work already. And especially if you do you study the videos on this channel as the information's coming from somebody who actually knows what they're talking about. That gives you a general idea of how this can work, how to do it. Yes, there might be a way to sell, like we had a company that sold house goods, and for a few $100s each, like those globes that you would put in your yard and stuff like that. And they were doing well doing that, but they were still taking phone calls and talking to people. That in and itself is a element to the overall plan that it, to me, seems like you need to even make dropshipping work at all anymore. And like I said, even if you get lucky, someone's going to copy your campaign if it requires truly no human interaction whatsoever. Not only that, but if you do the home dialysis equipment, if you were going to do that, any high-end home medical equipment would be killer. It would work just as good as the home dialysis equipment example I gave you, as is any high-end industrial equipment. You just got to be an expert in how to consult people on what they need to buy, and then you can get it to work truly. You could, once you get your Google search ads working for that using that business model I gave you for dropshipping that's still successful to this day, these campaigns I told you about are still working, you can do other types of lead generation. Google's just the best. Then you can run Bing ads, of course. For the home dialysis equipment niche, I'm going to run an ad before you buy a home dialysis machine. You need to read this. And then, that's on a banner ad, that's on a video ad. You run that for anybody who's made any kind of search about home dialysis equipment in the last 30 days, which you can do with Google and custom intent audiences. I would also have that show up for anybody any informational sites about home dialysis equipment or any videos on YouTube about home dialysis equipment. You get them to fill out a form to get the information. One field of which on that form asks for their phone number. 2 minutes after they fill out the form, you call them, and it's the same deal. If you're a good salesperson who can provide legitimate value, you make money. If you can't provide legitimate value add to your market that way, you can't make money. That's the decider. And so at the end of the day, dropshipping, is it dead? Basically, it is dead. Okay? It's just a matter, it can be useful to get a business started. And it is beautiful starting a business so you don't have to have a whole warehouse full of goods at first. You can find out if a certain product will sell before you go ahead and order it all. But no doubt, long-term drop shipping, nobody's doing that. They're using it because they don't have enough money to buy products and start a real business, if you will. And then if they're smart, they can make it work like I told you, and they're good at selling and all that. Then they just invest in their own product to get it in-house. And then the step one being just ordering it and putting it in your own warehouse and selling it through FBA or through a outsourced 3PL company that can do pick and pack, where every time you get an order through your Shopify store, the order gets shipped out through an outsourced partner. That's step one. Then step two is taking the home dialysis equipment, shipping the damn thing to China, telling them to de-engineer, reverse engineer the product, put a new case on it, and you have your own house brand. Then you're making even more money, which fixes that problem I told you about earlier, which is you can talk to them, get them down to one product that they need that's going to work the best for them over the phone there after all the questions you asked them, and then they can run off and buy it from somebody else. If you have your own house brand, they can't anymore. So you're not going to lose the sale at the last second, and ads as a result of that becomes a lot more efficient even yet. So that would be like once you've built up enough momentum, enough revenue, you can do that and turn it into a whole, you got your own brand, you got your own manufacturing, all of it. All starting from just the drop shipping operation you legitimately started out with. And if you're willing to roll your hands up, roll your sleeves up, and do some selling yourself, figure out how to sell, you can get all this going, and you don't need more than, let's say $5,000 to get the whole thing started. I could get the whole thing started. I just described to you for $5,000. I know a little bit about making websites, but that's literally all it would take to get started. Anybody could start this today. You got to be hungry. You got to be able to answer the phone, take calls on the weekends, take calls overnight. If you really want the most results out of it right away, and just build it up one step at a time like that. Anybody can basically do it. You don't even have to be the one that sells also after a while. Once you got the sales process down to a science, you just record your calls, then you have a salesperson come in, listen to your calls, and let them handle it. Which, by the way, is more complicated than it seems, because the problem with having somebody do phone sales for your e-commerce store is they either oversell it and you get a bad reviews, or they'll undersell it and your conversion rate. You got to find that perfect medium where they're not selling it too much, but just enough. And so if you provide them a sales commission for closing sales, then they'll oversell it and you'll get bad reviews. And if you don't provide a sales commission, then they won't sell hard enough. The ideal mix seems to be you give them a sales commission, but you also give them a bonus for maintaining a certain amount of positive reviews at the company and not getting negative reviews. That was really a revelation we figured that out a couple of years ago with some of the other clients that we work with that had to outsource the phone sales part of their e-commerce store. But anyway, with that said, I'll wrap everything up with that. Hopefully that made a lot of sense to you, and you check out some of my other videos so you can understand how to put your campaigns together and you get this actually started. But with that said, I'll see you on the next one.
Remember when I said drop shipping was important during this video? Well, this video here tells you how to do it.